lately I've been watching a few films that have been called Euro-horror. So I figured I better look that up and see exactly what that means. So when I Googled it, it said Euro-horror means European horror. So I thought, well, okay, that's not much help. So I looked a little bit further and they said, well, these are horror films from the 50s, usually made in Italy, Spain, and France, that are they're a little scarier, gorier, and sexier than American horror films that same time period. Well, a lot of those characteristics definitely apply to today's film. This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today we're going to look at another Gothic horror film, Italian style. Let's check it out. Today's film is Scream of the Demon Lover from 1970, 98 minutes long, in color, in Italian, with English subtitles. This one's about a beautiful young biochemist who arrives at this castle to work with the Baron who lives there, who is also a scientist himself and quite controversial. Meanwhile, in this village, several young ladies are showing up naked and dead for some reason. This also goes by the title of Killers of the Castle of Blood. Neither title really represents what the film's about, I don't think, but I think you'll agree Scream of the Demon Lover is probably a more interesting and provocative title. I don't really know anything about the people involved with this film. In other words, none of them were familiar to me. The director was Jose Luis Marino. He mainly made genre films like Tarzan films, Robin Hood, other jungle films, westerns, and he only made one other horror film. All his productions were Italian/Spanish productions. Right away, I do want to mention that when you put this disc in, there's a disclaimer saying that this was scanned from the 16 millimeter negative. My impression is it really had to be restored to a great degree. It was in bad shape, and yes, it is. A lot of this is very grainy. Some of the scenes are fairly blurry, and there are a few scratches here and there. But I will say, even though some parts are occasionally distracting, it did not ruin my enjoyment of the film really much at all. Apparently 20 minutes were cut from the US version of this film. I don't know why. I wish there was a booklet included in here to explain that, and maybe the commentary does. I didn't listen to it. But I think one reason why it was cut for the US release is because there's a decent amount of female nudity in this film from 1970. All three principal female characters have nude scenes. All three also want to be the Baron's lover. Two of the female characters already were. He kind of trades off between the two. The new one, the new biochemist who shows up, whose name is Ivana, not that Ivana, she is unusually pretty stubborn and hard-headed for this type of film. Usually the female character is a little more helpless and wimpy, but she's a pretty tough character. The main thread driving the narrative here is the mystery. Who is killing these young women? The villagers say it's the Baron. In fact, when our biochemist Ivana shows up at first and says she's looking for the castle, they all freak out and ignore her right away. Only one person is willing to take her to the castle, and he attempts to rape her, which, interestingly, she never mentions anybody else in the rest of the film. So the villagers say it's the Baron. There's a peeping Tom involved. There are some red herrings, shots of people looking very suspicious, and we don't know if those are the killers or not, or if they know something or not. Eventually, an inspector shows up to investigate what's happening. So there's several scenes going back and forth with the inspector trying to find out who the killer is, or killers. I'm not going to give any spoilers, of course, but I will say that I was surprised at the ending, and sometimes I'm surprised, sometimes I can figure it out, so take that with a grain of salt, but I was surprised at this one. I thought I had it figured out. So Euro horror, is this any elements of that? I think so, from what little I've read about it. There's a decent amount of nudity. All those women are beautiful, by the way, of course. There's some sadism involved. There's some sexual kinkiness, a lot of stuff about, being a virgin and being pure and staying pure. And I don't want to get into too many details. There's a giallo-style killer because it's kind of ritualistic and you don't see the killer's face. And a little bit of blood sprinkled here and there. So yeah, I think Euro-horror sounds like a good label for this. But also, for sure, Gothic horror. There's a foreboding atmosphere. At one point, Ivana is warned, never go into that part of the castle. And that's always a good sign in a horror film, right? There are horses and carriages. It looks like this is like the late 1800s or something like that. There are ornate furnishings in this castle with the usual shadows and the arched doorways, all that kind of stuff. Big, bold colors, very Bava-esque, you might say, with bright red chairs and bright blue drapes and curtains, things like that. Very bold. There are several scenes of women in nightgowns walking in the dark, holding candelabras to see what's going on. Of course, the nightgowns are see-through nightgowns. And there's people spying, people eavesdropping and looking guilty. Are they guilty? We don't really know. The main characters, interestingly, all seem to have a hair trigger. They go from 0 to 100 right away and kind of explode. Very temperamental. And there's even a few touches of Frankenstein and the Wolfman in this film too. So my rating for Scream of the Demon Lover, I'm going to give this one 3.5 flames out of 5. Why flames? Because in the film, part of the castle was on fire in the past, and the villagers were hoping the whole thing would burn down because there's something evil going on there. But it stayed intact. So what's on this disc? Well, this is a Severin disc. It's part of this box set, Danza Macabra, Volume 1, the Italian Gothic collection. You can see the 4 films that are included in this set. I did an episode on Lady Frankenstein a few weeks ago, if you want to check that one out. And really enjoying this so far, and enjoying the genre so far. On this film, there is an option of watching it in Italian with English subtitles, which is what I did, or you can watch it dubbed in English, which I do not recommend. There's an audio commentary, which I did not listen to. There are 2 main extras. One's an interview with the main actress, Yvonne, who plays Ivana. That's about 25 minutes long. And there's a video essay that's about 38 minutes long. The extras were okay, I thought. Where can you see Scream of the Demon Lover? I don't see it streaming. Prime Video has it for 99 cents if you want to rent it. There is a DVD available. I don't know what the quality is of that. Otherwise, that box set is still available. So feel free to leave a comment or suggestion down below. Maybe there's some other Euro horror that you like, that you would like to recommend, or would you like me to talk about the other 2 films in that set? I would like to thank the following people who've left comments since our last episode. They include Plastic Weapon, Vincent, Angel, My Stormy Seas, Tina, Yolanda, Andrew, Michael, Joe, and Jose. Thank you for taking the time to leave comments on various episodes, old and new. Leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. We are 1 away from our goal of 625 subscribers. So let's keep going. Let's see if we can get to 650. Thank you so much for subscribing. I would like to welcome our newest subscribers, John P., John N., and Larry, who have subscribed since our last episode. Thank you so much. Subscribing is free. Also free is Letterboxd. We're on Letterboxd. Under the Kazdoy Closet, there's a link down below. That's where we leave brief written reviews of other things we're watching. Most recently, No One Will Save You, Bad Things, and Elevator Game. One of those films I gave a half star to, so check that out and see which one I really did not like. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. See you next time.